Hello and welcome to another episode of the Nkiti Creations podcast. I'm your host, L, and I have my co-host here, Colors.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Um, well, I know we tried this earlier, tried to record earlier. I'm just tired right now. I woke up really early and yeah, I just feel kind of laggy. That's all. But we're here. I probably need some soda, something to just some coffee. Just give me up.
Yeah, it's definitely been a long week. So if you all follow a journey with Colors, he's still on the road, obviously, work purposes, but we also have been working really hard to reestablish ourselves back in Texas from Virginia, and it can take a toll. So for any of our listeners who are recently making some life-changing moves, we're there with you because this has been a life-changing experience every step of the way. And we definitely can relate. So if you're going through a move, a change in career, a starting a new business, leaving an old one, anything like that, just know that we
Transitioning.
yeah, exactly transitioning. We are here. We support you
We
because
understand you.
we understand what you're going through for sure. But we're happy, we're happy that we were back and we had a great time over there. We learned, we saw, we met new people. If you haven't listened to our latest episode, which was, I believe, back on July 26th, you should. We were we got to interview Alicia from Soul Riot
Yep.
LLC. And she's really amazing. So we hope we can get her back here in the near future. We got a lot of messages actually from that episode. People were really happy with it. They really enjoyed her interview. And so we're definitely going to be bringing her back. Like I said, she is just full of knowledge, anything from birth charts to astrology to crystals, you name it. And she knows all about it. So also follow her on Instagram if you haven't done that. I definitely saw some of our listeners go and follow her page. So thank you for the support. And we're just excited, we're excited. We're hoping that the next time we film that Colors and I will be back in the same room like it used to be. Our schedules have been really all over the place, but we hope that we can do that here and we have a new nice setup specifically for our recording. Um,
Yeah.
and we're getting ready to release our book. We are just a few stories short from the final review. So Scary Stories to Keep You Up at Night, Volume 2 will be out this October. Definitely keep an eye out for that. We will be releasing a lot of content in the next 2 months before that release to really amped up our audience for it. It's 20 collection. It's a 20 collection book, right? 20 story collection of, all types of scary, horror, creepy stories, all written by me and of course illustrated by Colors. Our first volume came out it wasn't last year, I think it was 2020.
Two
So
years, yeah.
yeah. So 2020, we had a lot of fun. And this time around, it only took us a little bit longer because unfortunately, I could not get our editor, from our first book to help us out with this one. She was busy, with other things. So I had to go through the process of writing and editing, which is not easy. It is not easy. Like it takes you twice the work. And that's really why it's taking us this long, to write this second chapter or second volume for it. Um, yeah. I mean, anything to add to that, Colors? I'm excited.
For the person that we had, Alicia,
Mhm.
what is the name I heard?
So
So so
LLC.
right,
Mhm.
yeah, so right LLC, which is really cool. She has an LLC. That means her stuff is legit. We barely barely scratched the surface of what we wanted to talk about. I know I kind of took over the whole conversation. It's because I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of questions. I'm a very spiritual person, and I believe, in energy. And she had this even through the phone, even through like Zoom and our internet meetings. You can feel it. So something took over my body and decided to ask so many questions. Uh, but I want to learn more. I think that she is very knowledgeable. She has a lot of experience. I mean, I think she says she has a master's in some kind of in that field. So she is very knowledgeable, like I said, and I do kind of want to bring her next time. And hopefully next time we'll be together and we can actually either fly her down and, have her stay in Texas a couple of days and do, either a big long recording or like two different sessions and the span of like 2 days. Cause I think she's great, honestly, and I want to learn more about it.
For sure, and honestly, I think that we've been playing with an idea of further expanding your channel. So in the future, really near future, we will be opening up what they call a Patreon account because we do want to give the opportunity to other people who are not in Texas to be able to fly them down. So if any of our listeners is able to support our channel, know that that account will be strictly to get other artists, other business owners flown from their states here so that we can go ahead and record. I'm telling you guys, this brand, this channel is only going to continue to expand, which is why
Yep.
we're considering opening that Patreon account to further help expand. And of
Yep.
course, being able to bring in other talent from all over the US would be amazing.
Yeah, we don't really discriminate on anything. We just kind of want to hear about your journey, especially if it's a good journey, and then it's especially if there's something that we need to kind of hear that we're learning from every day. Every day is a struggle, and there's a lot of people that struggle differently. I mean, everybody struggles differently, whether you have a music career, whether you have your politician, whatever it might be. Um, we want to hear about it. We want to share your stories. And at the same time, we want to talk about something creepy. The whole point of this whole show, I mean the podcast, is that we bring light to subjects, but at the same time we also have fun with some kind of like paranormal stuff.
Right. We definitely, because I always see a lot of paranormal channels, and that's, that is your basis. That is, that's where they started, and, it's their entire channel. However, for us, behind our brand, behind our name, we have the ability to focus on many different subjects. And so these subjects somehow always correlate with, the creepy, the scary, the interesting. That's when they ask me, oh, what is your podcast about? And I'm like, it's really about everything. Uh, you're
It's
gonna
about everything and the paranormal.
right. It's just you're gonna come here to learn something new. And lately, like I said, I've had a lot of listeners start giving me ideas like social media.
Oh.
I even had recent coworkers, because you all don't have a full-time job somewhere. Where doesn't matter. But
Non-existing.
yeah, it's like I got some ideas, what to look up and what I should talk about, so that was exciting. People also have told me they want to hear more about crimes, maybe unsolved crimes and things like that. So eventually, we might do like a whole month or so of just talking about different unsolved crimes. But I do know that people who dwell into that, they definitely dedicate a lot of energy into those types of episodes, because again, we're talking about someone who had a family, someone who was an individual, right? So you have to take the time to really remember that they were human, and we can't just, you know, talk in a way that we don't point that out. So those episodes are going to take more out of us, just because it won't be, I feel, always as fun or funny. It's going to be more serious and more like factual, and so we have to really prepare for those type of recordings.
Yeah. And you have to have the right information.
Yes.
You have to have the right information because, like you said, it is a topic that is very sensitive.
Exactly.
And if you get the wrong information, you don't want the wrong people involved and be like, oh, well, that's not what happened.
Right, exactly. You don't want the family to become upset either. So just know that for those people who are going I'm sorry, those people who are requesting us to and do more crime-based episodes, they're coming. We just have to take our time with them.
Yeah, there's a lot of research to it, but I mean, there's, it's not that it cannot be done. So,
Right. All right. Well, I think that's enough of our updates of our lives. So what do we have today? What are we talking about?
well, we talked about today many different things. We have a lot of ideas, and
I think we're
but
stick
we
with
came across.
or I was gonna say we're gonna stick with our, I know there's a lot of topics, but we're gonna go ahead and stick with our simulation theory, which what have you heard about living in a simulation?
The Matrix.
Right, pretty much living in the matrix. So what have you heard? Anything about that? Any articles you read?
Honestly, I'm not an article reader sometimes.
Like,
I'm more of a video watcher.
mhm.
So, I mean, I've seen some creepy stuff. I've seen some weird stuff that are like, oh, it's glitched. But I know that a lot of things happen with frames. Frames, when something's happening at a speed of a frame, it can cause something to look like it's not really there. Like if
Mhm.
you're looking at the water and the water's moving while your car is moving, each frame that's moving at it's the same exact speed as the water or your car is moving. It looks like the water's not moving, and when you stop, the water keeps moving. It's just it's an effect. Like when
Right.
you see the helicopters and they're moving their how do you say, like the propellers, they're going really fast, but you put the frame on it, you start recording, it looks like it's just there, they're not even moving. It's because the frame is moving exactly the same speed as the camera. So
Mhm.
that may look like the Matrix, that, but it's something like it can be explained.
So you're saying like you've
But
seen videos, but you don't necessarily think it is, we cannot debunk them scientifically, correct?
exactly, I think they can, and some of them can't. And if we can't, then it's paranormal. To me, it's just something that it just hasn't had an explanation yet. But one of the things that I really, really, really like, and I've actually myself have experienced it, and I know a lot of people have experienced it. It's the Mandela effect.
And that is that some individuals remember facts being different than what they are.
Facts being different than what they are. Like there is something called a God particle. So the God particle was created for scientists. There's like a huge ring underneath the in a place, I don't know the information, in a place where they believe an atom can travel so fast. And what that happened was back in 2018 or 2010, the God particle started. So that's when they say that when it crashed, that dimensions crossed each other. And then some of us remember like the guy from the Monopoly that had the little thing on his eye, but he never really did. But a
Wait,
lot of people,
you're talking about the peanut guy from the Peanuts, not the Monopoly guy.
no, the Monopoly guy too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Monopoly guy too, and the peanut guy. So there's like all those things like Pikachu had a black tail. Pikachu never had a black tail. But I've seen it.
Good
I'm a
enough.
huge Pokemon fan. I've seen it. I've seen it.
Yeah.
So those are the things that the Mandela effect is one of those big God particles. That's what I'm trying to see. What I'm trying to say is that it can be explained, but we can't really explain it because we don't know exactly what happened. So we either like came in with a different dimension, we crashed, and now we are remembering things that would never existed.
All right. Interesting. Well, I found a list from Vulture, I believe. They list about 15 different reasons why we should believe that we live in a simulation like the Matrix. We're probably going to pick and choose a few of those. But before we get started on that list, I want to go ahead and talk about TikTok video that you and I watched last week. And it was in regards to a place called Bluff, Utah. So it's a city in Utah, right?
Oh
Where
yeah, 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 yeah.
apparently
Sorry, I
the
got excited.
no, it's okay. The guy who started talking about it said that he took a trip down there with his family and they were like some kind of vacation. They get to this place. It seems good enough, right? It seems like a family friendly enough. They stop by a convenience store. They purchase snacks, drinks, and they realize that all the snacks and drinks have expired 2 weeks prior. And they go up to the counter, apparently to pay, right? And their debit card, credit card isn't going through. And so at the time, they didn't really think much about it. Most people who are on vacation are in a pretty good mood anyway, and they're really relaxed and patient. So they just figured, they'll fix it, whatever. The cashier says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not really sure what's going on. I just started here." So then they're like, okay, So then later that day, they go to a restaurant, they go eat some food, they start asking questions about the menu. And again, the not the cashier, the waitress, right, is like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not really sure. I just started here." So at some point they start questioning, like, "Well, are we in some kind of hidden game show, some hidden camera show? Like, what's
Like,
going
where's
on?"
the cameras? Yeah.
Exactly. They end up going to their hotel, right? They get to the hotel and now they're just like a little like, this is kind of weird. And again, like they have issues with their reservation. Like they can't find their reservation. And the person at the hotel counter is like, "Hey, I'm not really sure what's going on. I just started here." So they're very much like, this is really weird, but worse or scary things could have happened. And then you move over to another video attached to this one, right? Which is a different individual who talks about pretty much a similar, I would say, experience in this town where he stops by. He said years ago, and he's in the car. As he's driving down, he sees a girl and she's asking for like a ride, right? She's trying to hitch a ride. And as he's driving, he says, "I couldn't really help her because at the time my car was filled with a bunch of things. I was moving away, so I didn't have space for her." But I feel like he also deep down felt like it wasn't the best thing for him to do because he didn't know her, which today's day and age, why would you go ahead and, pick up a stranger you don't know, right? So then I'm like, I wouldn't pick up a hitchhiker either. I don't drive, but I still wouldn't pick up a hitchhiker, you know? And so I'm like,
Honestly, that's just that right there to me sounds kind of paranormal. The second part you said about the girl,
I'm not even done.
the first,
Yeah, I'm not even done. So it turns
oh,
out, yeah, sorry, like I'm not even done. So what happens is like,
because I already watched the video. I'm over
I
here
mean,
like,
I
oh
know.
no.
It's okay. So I go ahead and continue the video. And he says he just, unfortunately couldn't help her. He keeps driving. And then a few miles on the road, he sees her again, the same girl. And he's like, "No way." Right. He's like, that's not normal. There's no way she ran all the way over here and made it up here. So after that, I was
Before
like,
him.
exactly. So if you remember, you and I became fans of reservation dogs recently.
Yeah. Hmm.
I've mentioned some of the episodes in our past episodes, but the last season, they had an episode where they really dwelled into the Native American folklore, right? One of them being a hitchhiker who had hooves for feet, right? And she's some
Yeah.
kind of like magical being too. She can do things. So when he started talking about that, that is immediately what came to my mind is like, how many times will these beings, right, find you and especially you're alone, right? So why wouldn't they find you alone? Because then you can't prove anything, right? And this happens and then people go missing and then you're just like, we don't know what happened and something, something that will
So
never,
happened.
yeah,
Yeah.
just missing people. But yeah, those two were within the same video about Bluff, Utah, and really started, making me think how many little countries, or not little countries, how many little towns all over the US we've heard weird stories about. Some of them obviously are more in the political and they're definitely more dangerous than paranormal to be in if you are a person of color, unfortunately. That's a whole other episode that's going to be much more serious, but they do talk about it a lot on TikTok, small towns, really weird stuff. And nobody really hears about it because again, they don't have like media like we do. They may not have
But
really access to it.
no, I was gonna say, but because of social media, we're starting to find different things out there. Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't have like all the technology, but these are videos that probably we would have never seen. Well, we get news from all over the world now. We see some weird stuff from all over the world. And one of the videos that I saw, it was about a little squirrel. The girl was, I guess it was a girl who was sitting on a car, and she was recording a squirrel. And she said the squirrel came out of the ground out of nowhere. She's like, "There's no hole. I went to check it." And so she's recording it, and this little squirrel comes out from the dirt and runs out. And then she goes to the place, and there's nothing there. Like it's pavement, there's not a hole, there's nothing there. So she's like, "Am I living in a matrix? Am I, like, am I glitching or something? The world glitching?" Those are the kind of videos that make you think like, wow.
No, definitely. There's so many topics here on this vulture list. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the first one and I'll have you just pick a random one. They're not even gonna be in order. So
Okay.
this one comes from stating that it makes more sense that we are in a simulation than there are ghosts. And the short paragraph here reads that paranormal events are not hauntings or alien encounters, but glitches in the simulation. This theory is the one most explored on Reddit forums like what is this, / are we living in a simulation, and r / glitch in the matrix, where users explore big ideas and philosophy funneled into the details of the odd or the occult. A storefront exists in a town one day, then it doesn't. Explanations include a slip between parallel timelines or a pop-up. A car passenger sees the word render in the sky as if entering a new part of the video game. Elevators are a frequent setting for glitch stories. The jump between floors seems to encourage a slip within dimensions.
Is the God particle.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I have actually said that before, how I think that when it comes to ghosts and things, it's not like most of them are intellectual beings. It seems like they're just stuck in time. They keep repeating the same action over and over and over, and we just don't know what's causing that or how can we get them to stop. Most of the time, if you look into paranormal stories about either children playing, it's always the same story. There's a ball falling, right? As if maybe that was the last action they took before they passed away. It's always a residual haunting more than a intelligent haunting where they actually interact.
Yeah,
So
it
it is,
makes it makes more sense like that.
it's possible
Yeah.
if we
I
think
mean,
about
if you think about it, there's like so many simulations, or there's so many like how do you say it? Uh uh of like space and time, like multiverses as you want to call it. If you go to someone's house and they're like, "Oh, the spirit of so and so lives here," maybe that world is still stuck in that time. They're
Mhm.
still living in that time, and you see them because they're crossing each other.
Right.
They're kind of crossing each other, and you can kind of see them. It's like, like two signals just come in and they just go away. That's the way I see it. I mean, still scary.
It is interesting. That theory is actually very interesting. And again, like I said, it's one of those things. I cannot tell you how much I just can't wait to start really unpacking all our stuff because I miss my books. I miss just opening a book now, which it's insane how much you miss things after you don't have access to them. But yeah, I miss my
Tell me
life.
about it.
Yeah, I miss my library. And so I'm like, oh my God, I have that book and I can look more into it, but I can't because, put away and store it. But I want to go ahead and explore this a little bit more as to what other examples are there of hauntings that can be explained that perhaps is not a haunting, it's more or less a simulation or a glitch in the simulation. It's interesting.
Yeah. I
All right,
mean, yeah.
go ahead and pick
Uh,
one.
you want me to read one?
Yeah.
Jesus, I was not expecting to read today.
Okay, I
I
can
was,
read it.
I was elected to lead, not to read.
Okay, who says that?
It's the guy, oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger from the Simpsons. When he becomes the governor of California, and they tell him to read something, he said, "I was elected to lead, not to read."
Oh my God.
That's me.
I'll go ahead and read it then. No worries. Because then we're going to be stuck on you trying to read it. No offense.
I
Okay.
never rehearsed.
Do you remember that one time I had you read and then you literally mess up the entire thing? And I think you mentioned something about a cow, and I said, it doesn't say that. And then you're like, what? And I was
Is my dyslexia.
like, okay, you can't self-diagnose.
I am self-diagnosed as my dyslexia. We've known I have dyslexia for a long time. I'm not, you know, I don't have a doctor's note, but I know.
Okay. So
Go.
like climate change. How convenient. Our civilization is set on the cusp of environmental chaos, suggesting we could be an ancestor simulation created in hopes that would show our creators how to solve an energy crisis. This theory overlaps slightly with the aliens as simulation quitters theory above. And we found an innovative solution to climate crisis. Extraterrestrial beings might return to crib the results. I mean, lately we've actually, I don't know how old this article is, to be honest, but recently, as of last week, the government came out and said aliens are real, but it's too late.
You know when the government says something, you know it's fake.
It's hard to believe. I have some friends who are very much into the whole idea that aliens are here. We've known they've always been here. But I'll
Right.
be honest with you. I love this stuff. However, there's so many other news reports that I much rather read about than the aliens being real. If the aliens are being real, is going to end world hunger, is going to end the renting crisis, the high interest rates, is going to put money in my pockets. you know? But I don't care. Like, I'm like, oh, this is so cool. It's interesting. But, anyway, what are you gonna do about everything else going on in the world?
What are you gonna do about my light bill? What are you gonna do about this global warming? Um, yeah, they're not gonna do anything.
Yeah.
You
So
see
it's
how fast the spaceships move?
yeah, now there's so many videos of spaceships and they're clear as day. They're no longer recording on VCRs. And it's like interesting, but not interested, kind of deal. Me and you were just looking at a bunch of videos and reading about the Niger coup
Nigeria, yeah, Niger, yeah.
in Africa, and why they're doing it, and how they're kicking out the French, and they're kicking out all these people who have been robbing their land, the African lands, of all this gold and all these resources. And to that I say, good for them. I'd rather read about that, to be honest, and the whole thing with Lizzo and her dancers and how she's an awful person, because chances are high that she might be an awful person. I don't know her personally, but I do know one thing: fame and money changes people.
Changes people.
So, she maybe didn't start that way and then she became this person. It sucks because, a lot of people looked up to her. But we read it, we move on, and we go to more important things that could actually affect us. In this case, it seems that they continue to wake up the other parts of their country, and they decide like, hey, no one's gonna come in here and touch us anymore. Then everybody will kind of, see the issue then, right? Same thing with Mexico. Same thing is happening in Mexico right now, where the Mexican president is like, hey, you better stick your noses somewhere else. And if that stops, guess what? It still affects us because we import a lot of items from Mexico. A lot of items are imported, from all over the world. So those are more important, I feel, things than sudden alien discovery or celebrities knowing us finding out the celebrities are bad people. We've been knowing that.
We all know what social media is.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. This whole idea that we are in a simulation, how, what a coincidence that we have to save the planet in order for the aliens to come. What if the aliens have always been here?
Oh yeah, they've always been here. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at the Renaissance paintings, they're everywhere.
Mhm.
Renaissance paintings have them everywhere. Why? Because they've seen them. Who covered them up? Religion. So,
Yeah.
that's the whole simulation itself. Religion is a whole simulation. It's not real. It's a belief. But I mean, people believe it. So, you get stuck in that mindset, you get stuck in that matrix. The truth is out there, and it's up to you to kind of look for it,
I'm
because
down
it is
older.
not going to be given thing. What?
I said,
What
come
you say?
down older.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, yeah, it's what would be a crazy simulation or like a crazy Mandela effect if maybe like in a year from now the government's like, we never said that. We never said anything about no aliens.
You guys
And
are
then you
crazy.
don't find anything about it.
Everybody screenshot their stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
move on to the next one. DNA that contains a computer virus. In 2017, a multidisciplinary group of researchers at the University of Washington proved that they could embed malicious computer code into physical strands of DNA. Their aim was to show that computers working in gene sequencing were vulnerable to attack, but may also have inadvertently revealed that what we perceive to be a biological reality was in fact computer code all along. That is interesting. I would like to know more. So they're stating that they were able to manipulate DNA, but if our DNA is supposed to be a
Unique.
biological make, right? How could they infect a DNA strand with a computer code?
A virus is what they said.
Yeah, they infected it with a computer code virus, a physical strand of DNA.
That kind of just brings you up to like a cyborg type of thing, like a bionicle type of thing. It's not organic. It's non-organic. But if you think about it chemically, you can disturb the body, you can disturb DNA chemically, but chemicals are physical, right? So I would say a virus will have to be physical in order for it to damage DNA. So it could be like a little computers going into your body and like putting a code and releasing some kind of chemical that causes a virus. That is
Right.
the only logical thing that I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, then if that's the case, we are definitely in a video game.
Right. Exactly. I'm telling you, this article is filled with so much information, and they do link additional evidence, I would say, right? Or additional facts onto these. So it's pretty interesting. I would have never thought they could do that, but if honestly, one thing that always has been scary to me is to think the amount of work that scientists do that we're not aware of behind closed doors and secret labs, especially because I always feel like if there's an opportunity for someone to get away with something, whichever reason, whichever, circumstances can be, they will do it. So if the government could continue to experiment on its people like they have, and it's been proven over the years, why wouldn't they do that?
So that brings me to something that I saw it on TikTok,
Mm.
and it's another two guys that do a podcast just like us, and they were talking about a theory that the show from Netflix, this video is not sponsored, uh the show from Netflix, what is it called, the girl 11, Stranger Things.
Thanks. Uh-huh.
Apparently they believe that Stranger Things was based on a true story. It's either from Chernobyl because of like I think like the Russians are involved or whatever it is. But they said that the reason why that happened is because the scientists were experimenting on something that they weren't supposed to, and they created a black hole and they had to close it, and some things came out. And they were also experimenting on kids that were living underground. These kids were having like some kind of like powers. They can, manipulate electricity. They do things like just like 11. So they said that the whole actual show is based off a true story, based off Chernobyl, and the reason why they closed it down because nobody really knows. Everybody just left. We don't have actual details. They're like, oh yeah, as the bomb came out, like it's chemical or whatever. Get out. But we don't know what happened.
Right. I mean, there's definitely a lot of information on it, and you have your paranormal side to what happened at Chernobyl, and you have your actual scientific, how what they were working on was just too risky, and they took the risk, and they put all the population in the area in jeopardy, their lives. And of course, now people go as tourists and go check out the place, which I don't see why you would do that, just being exposed to all the radioactivity.
Radiation.
Right. It's like it doesn't seem like a fun time. Uh, I'm saying we could think of
You come back and your eye is sagging out.
I'm saying it doesn't seem like a fun time, because if you truly wanted to put your life in danger, literally go to the grocery store and purchase the food and eat it. Right now, I have like 2 bags of off topic, but I have 2 bags of frozen mangoes that I do not want to eat because there was a recall all over the states of frozen fruit, including the brand I have, although they said it was strawberries.
Hepatitis C.
Yeah, hepatitis C outbreak on frozen fruit. And now I'm more likely to be jumping on the FDA website, because there's always a recall. Peanut butter, frozen fruit, you name it, they will recall it. And so it's very scary. And I'm like, okay, I really want to eat this mango. And although they said it's just the strawberries, I still feel not safe to eat it.
It kind of does suck that we cannot eat certain foods anymore because we already know that they are messed with.
Mhm.
And it's just it sucks. But this is a reason why I think everybody should start cropping their own food,
You know,
creating their own food.
way. And I know we are kind of again doing the thing we always do. We tend to derive or derail, sorry, from our main topic here, which is the simulation in the matrix. But speaking of the farming and doing your own crops, recently there were some videos I caught on TikTok about small farms who apparently are not cooperating with like government agencies to spray their growth, their what do you call it?
The
Crops, right?
crops,
Yeah.
yeah.
They don't want to spray it with these chemicals. And so they're losing their farms. And by losing their farms, I'm not saying they're taking them away, but suddenly they've caught fire and they've lost their entire land. And you're like,
Bombs have gone out,
yeah, I'm supposed to believe that, oh my God, it was a
explosions.
terrible accident right after they said, no, we're not gonna do that. Like, yeah, I'm baffled.
No, I know the government has more to do with it than what we believe in. Um, what did it say? The government wouldn't do that.
Right? Oh my
The
God.
government wouldn't do that.
Okay, so let's do maybe one or two more, because we're gonna keep derailing our topic here.
Because the government is not going to do that.
Right. Okay, so this is number 3, I believe, and it's why does our universe have rules in the first place? MIT cosmetologist Max Tegmark has pointed to our universe's strict laws of physics as possible evidence that we live in a video game. If I were a character in a computer game, I would also discover eventually that the rules seem completely rigid and mathematical. In this theory, the speed of light, the fastest rate at which any particle can travel, represents the speed limit for transmitting information within the network of our simulation. And you just talked about that right before we started.
Yeah, I mean, math doesn't lie. When it
Mhm.
comes to math, it does not lie. But I do believe that if we put our mind into something that they just keep feeding your brain over and over and over, that's all you're going to see, you
Mhm.
know? So they also say about escaping the matrix, or like escaping a video game, the same thing. You got to escape it. You got to get out of like that mindset of things that are happening, but they're really not happening.
Yeah.
So taking control of what you want, manifesting what you want, instead of believing that you are going to be failing in a system that is broken, because that's what you have been fed to think.
You know,
You know,
it's insane because we're talking about this today, but yesterday I watched one of my favorite movies. And we were talking about it. I watched,
wanted
yeah, Wanted. I wouldn't say it's the best acting, but you know, the idea
the
behind,
concept.
yes, the concept is very interesting. And I say that because I told you literally last night, I said, I watched this movie like years ago. I think it was like 2005 when it came out. So I wasn't even in high school yet. I was probably getting into high school. And I remember even then as a child thinking, there's no way that I'm just going to go through 8 hours of school. When I wanted to be out there in the park, wanted out there, recess to be there forever, right? There's no way that I'm going to have to do this for the rest of my life, just keep going to school 8 hours a week and then work 8 hours a day and then 40 hours a week. And then this is just it. Like I questioned that so early on in my development, to me is insane because my parents never questioned it, both being immigrants, right, from Mexico. They just figured we're going to work hard 10, 12 hours a day, and that's just what life is, right? So that's what they started to input into myself and my sisters. So when I started questioning this and didn't have anyone to talk about, right, because you're fed this, you're supposed to go to school, you have to get good grades, then you get a job, and they do it all over till you die, right?
It's a system.
Exactly. And then on top of that, I was told like you're gonna have kids one day too. You're gonna do this, you're gonna do, what I'm saying? You're gonna get married. And
It's called slavery.
yeah, and none of that really was my calling necessarily. So when I started to really dwell into my creativity over the last few years, it was an awakening, right? I've had so many jobs in my past where I was completely miserable. The pay was terrible, the atmosphere was toxic, and I was very unhappy, right? But I was just doing what I was told I was supposed to do since I was a kid. And now that I kind of started to see things differently, right? Now I start thinking about like how we don't have to have a regular 9 to 5 job to be happy and to make a living. We don't have to basically fit ourselves into these boxes, right? And do the whole, work 40 hours a week, own a house, take one vacation a year, which I could never do now because we've taken like 3 vacations here. I can't go back. But it all just really, like you said, that is what we're fed into growing up. And that's what we think. And some of us continue to believe that until we die. But other ones wake up, and they're like, no, I am not gonna do this for the rest of my life.
I know the topic that we had was very interesting, that we're living in a simulation, but the simulation is the system that we live in. And until we actually believe in ourselves and believe that there's nothing else out there that's controlling us, we're going to be free. Do you think a rich person believes the same thing that you believe? No, I don't think so, because they have unlimited resources, unlimited power. They don't have to believe it. They create whatever they want. It's a simulation that they live, and it's for them. So we have to leave that simulation into what it is, and just leave it. If the government wants to destroy schools, good. It's probably better that you raise your kids the way you want them to. If the government wants to do X, Y, and Z, then go against it, because whatever they're trying to do is control you and leave you in this simulation that we live in. Yeah.
That's an interesting closing for sure. And I couldn't agree more. Along with what's going on in Niger, Africa, along what's going on with the farmers in the States, we've also picked up a lot of news that's going on in Texas in the Houston education system and how they're trying to close down libraries and make them detention centers. So if you're in the Houston area, you have kids in the system, I would really motivate you, want to motivate you to seek that information and see what can you do. Colorz and I have been also thinking about how we contribute back to our communities, and doing so, also keeping our current, platforms, but providing services to our communities. Him and I are both working hard to establish our insurances, right? Or licenses for insurances to be able to assist your community in financial services.
Yeah.
And when we get that all done, we would like to share that information with you all as well, because we do believe that there is a problem going on in society, but we can all work together to fix it. Exactly. So I would like nothing more than for this whole thing in Houston to not happen, because kids need books. That's why I became a book writer. And I have many, many pending orders right now because so many of the people I know have actually gotten out of their career paths in the criminal justice system, in the medical system, to become teachers recently. I have so many people on my timeline that have seen the calling and they're answering it, right? They're becoming teachers. So I have a list of people that I have to get my books to because I offered it to them for free because I want those books to get in the hands of those kids, right? So a shout out to everyone on my timeline who decided to go ahead and do this, for the kids of tomorrow, really. And so I'm excited, like I said, once that starts happening, more information to come. I do want to continue to do that every so often throughout the year. At this point, if you all don't know, we have a second book coming out for the Scary Stories Keep You Up at Night, Volume 2. But I also have a kids series called Biggie and Chester Adventures, and it's about my kids, my fur babies, and their fur adventures. Um,
And their
and,
adventures.
and their adventures, there's 3 books in the series right now. So those are the books that are going to be going out to schools all over the Texas state and actually all over the US. I have a few more going out. I'm sorry, not outside of the US, outside of Texas. They're going to be going all over the country, basically. So yeah, keep your eyes open, keep your eyes open. Get away from all the celebrity gossip and just information that does us no good. And every now and then check out, world news, check out what's going on in your area. Cause if we're not making the effort, we don't wake up, then just like Color said, we're just continuing to live our lives the way that they fed us since we were little.
They're gonna be in the simulation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
The
a
topic.
lot, a lot of information for you all to think about. We would love to hear from you in the near future. We will be opening our comment section. I know in the past we said we may not be ready for that because people can be really mean. But I think that they are. People can be mean.
People have got nothing to do but to poop
Right.
on somebody else's, honey.
Right. But we would like to have a dialogue going on with our audience now that we are definitely growing, and we're going to continue to have more guests and even, more ideas expanding. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you for listening every week. And thank you for giving us a short break that we took over the last few weeks. Colorz, any last words?
No, it has been a great episode. I hope that we continue um, to live our lives like we want to, and just stay away from the negativity and stay positive. That's it.
Couldn't get any better, Colorz. Again, thank you for listening to everyone who supports us. Until next time.
Bye.